What's up? Oh shit. Hold on. Fix that. What's up, people? I am back for another video. Um Before I do anything, I'm gonna go into what I got planned this week. Today I got this video, which I'm gonna be reviewing the Raid 2. Later tonight, I'm gonna do another video. I'll be one of those like discussion videos like I've been doing, so that'll be a little bit later tonight. Tomorrow I'll be reviewing Tremors 3, and we'll be doing a Generation Hope video later that night. Wednesday, John Wick Chapter 3, which I can't wait for. I really like that one. That was a great theater experience, too. You know, it's not as strong, especially, I remember we watching like 2 years ago. Not as strong as the first two, but I do really like it. So we'll be doing that. Thursday, I will be doing the shitty RoboCop reboot, which I'm dreading that. That movie is. I'm going in on that movie. That movie was a disgrace. So, but I'll do that on Thursday, and then Friday, it's actually going to be a first watch for me. I was talking with Lyndon in chat yesterday when he was streaming, and since this movie's on YouTube, I'm gonna review the movie Chopper. But before I do that, I'm gonna look into the actual guy Chopper Reed. But Eric Bana is in it, and I read the synopsis, so it sounds really fucking interesting. So I'll be reviewing that Friday, and then if I can, I'll also try to review the Northman, because that looks really fucking good. So, but we'll see. But today, or right now, I'm reviewing the Raid 2. The Raid 2. I remember, only really thing I remember was I watched the fight with him and the guy in the kitchen. My problem with this film, fundamentally, is watching it, they really took away that simplicity of the first Raid. What made that first Raid movie for me was the simplicity of it. It was Rama and his men, try to do a raid on this drug dealer's house, but it turns out it was a trap, and he had to try to survive. That's what made that film. This one, I think, just does too much. Like, half the time, don't even know who the bad guy is. B, the only thing I can gather is that it's basically Rama is undercover and because he's trying to stop corrupt police, but it's like so much is going on. It almost like it meanders. And also, this film should not be 2.5 hours. I do not understand the decision there to go with 2.5 hours. I just think that was almost like a waste. Like, you could cut out 30 minutes. Because there were just some scenes I'm just like, why is this here? Like the scene where Uko, I guess that's the guy they're trying to bust. He's the son of like a big crime lord, and there's like this not drug war, but like gang war subplots. He was like, there's too much going on. I understand it's a sequel, but God, I think they should have tried to, like, what made John Wick Chapter 2, was a movie I just reviewed, perfect, was it kept that simplicity of the first one, but just kind of made it on a bigger scale. They should have just did that again. I understand you might just be retreading a plot, but they should have just had it be another raid. I think that's what they should have went with. I don't understand this undercover stuff. I just think there was too much going on that at times I'm like I honestly forget, like, what is the story? The fights, I'll admit, like, the biggest positive is the fights, in my opinion, are much better. And the fights in the first one are already incredible. So it's like they brought it to another level with the fights in this one. So I cannot take that away from this one. The fights are fucking amazing. Like the scene with Hammer Girl, and the dude with the bat, where the Hammer Girl was taking out those guys on the subway. That was a great fight. Or even just the fight with Rama versus those two. So and then the second final fight where he fought one of Uko's men. So like, you had some cool fights. It's just they aside from that, it was just the story. I think they should have just kept it the simplicity. But did it on a bigger scale. I just don't understand the whole undercover thing. And like I said, it meanders. Anyway, it's not a bad movie, but it is nowhere near the first one. And I would only probably just watch the fight scenes. I don't know if I'd even go all the way to rewatch the movie. And don't get me wrong, it was cool seeing Mad Dog again. He was a cool character. It sucks he got killed, but it was cool seeing him again. His fight scenes that we saw are really good. But it's like, and then we get a little bit of a subplot with him, and then he dies. And then that's it. So we never... it's not a horrible movie, but it is nowhere near the first one. I would probably, honestly, only watch the first one all the way through again. I think this one, I would only watch the fight scenes, and then that's it. But if I were to give it out of 10, this one I would give just because how good the fights were, a 6. Not just the fights, like this one is pretty violent. So there is some good action and stuff. It's just, I really think this story-wise, it's so toned down and just such a step down from the first. But I would, if you want to sit all the way through and watch it, I guess you can. It's not that bad to where I would never sit down all the way and watch it again, but I just wouldn't go out my way to. I would mainly only want to watch some of the fights. But if you want to watch it just so you can watch the Raid 2, do it. But it's not a full-on recommendation, because it just... Anyway, we're going to get started on the story now. But, so the movie opens up. Rama, it kind of takes place a little bit after the events of the first one. We see Rama's brother get killed, which I do like that we had a little bit of continuity there, and we at least see what happens to his brother. So his brother's killed by another gang member, rival gang. Rama is taken out and meets with Lieutenant Bunawar. I think that's what the guy's name was. Basically puts them on him because they're trying to stop corrupt cops that are taking bribes from the Yakuza and gangsters. So they have Rama go to prison, basically, so he can befriend a son of a giant gang. I'll admit, I forgot the guy's name. I remember the son's name. His name was like Uko, who I guess, and that's the other problem. You knew who the villain was in the first one. It was Tama and Mad Dog. In this, it's Uko, I guess, but then you have this other guy, but then you only see him throughout the film, and then you have his father. It's so, like, all over the place on who, like, the real bad guy of the movie is. So he goes to prison and starts befriending him. He gets out, and basically his Uko's father takes Rama in as basically he has to go undercover, which I'm inherently not against. I like undercover stories done right, but I think if they were gonna do that, they should have just stuck with the undercover thing. Not this, now we're gonna have like a turf war or trying to it's so much going on that it kind of forgets what the premise is. So yeah. So Rama starts doing jobs for him, and we do get like some really cool action scenes. Like I'm not gonna take that away. Like the action scenes we get in this movie are fucking cool. I won't take that away. Like, and I know I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit, but Rama and some of Uko's men raid like a house, like not a house, but like a warehouse, and they take out some dudes. Like I really do dig the action. Like I think in that sense, and that's crazy. Like how great that first movie is with the action, and they stepped it up in that sense. But it's just, I don't know if they got too caught up in only focusing on the action that they almost forgot about the story. Because yeah, the story, there are just times, I'm gonna say it again, it meanders. It just, there are like there's a scene where Rama's hanging out with Uko at like some bar, right? Like a karaoke bar. And Uko wants this girl, like, I guess she's like a hooker or something. He wants her to sing, and she won't. And he gets all aggressive with her. But my thing is, what's the point of that scene? Like, I don't know if it was, like so Rama could check him. Like, was that the point? But it's like, it just loses focus. It almost like it just felt like there was just a scene to show this guy being an asshole, which I get it, but you could have done that in a different way and at least do it in a way that makes sense. Because this just felt like, okay, this is just here. Like, what was the point of that scene? And there's a couple of those, like, the scene though where we meet Hammer Girl and a dude with a bat. They call him Bat Boy, a baseball bat boy, but the names are just very simple. Their fight scenes were great, like where because not Rama, Uko, because he wants to make it's like the classic. He wants to do more of his part compared, but his father won't let him type of thing. So he goes behind his father's back and makes a deal with a rival gangster who and then it's also like, is he the villain? It goes all over the place, you know, because it's like there's like three villains, but not really. It's so he makes a deal with them. So that guy has his people, assassins, and then yeah, we get Mad Dog again. Like there's a scene where he beats down some like drunk dudes, which I'll admit that was cool. That was a fun little fight scene. And it was cool seeing Mad Dog. That actor is really cool. But I do think if you're gonna kill him, you shouldn't have killed him so early. There should have been a part where him and Rama teamed up. I don't get why they killed him so early in the film. Because there's a scene like he meets with Uko, because Uko wants a bigger spot. And I guess, yeah, he has his people ambush Mad Dog. Mad Dog takes a lot of them out. And I'll admit, the fucking gore is great. But then the guy that Rama fights in the kitchen later on in the film kills Mad Dog, which, you know, his death was kind of sad. But it is like, they should have had that happen in the end. Like, you could have just had it to where he got his ass kicked severely. I just, like, this, because there's a scene before where he's meeting with his wife, I'm guessing estranged wife, about wanting to see his kid, and it's like, okay, well, what was the point of that? And that's the other thing. What was the point of that scene if you're just gonna kill him not too long after that? Like story-wise, this movie has a lot of fucking problems. It's not if you just want to watch it just for the action, I would almost say just watch it. Like, there's probably YouTube compilation out there where they just put all the fights together. Because, God, the story in this is like, it just is all over the place. I feel like there's even times Rama's not even on screen, so it's like, it's so all over the place. So after that happens, we get a really dope fight scene where Hammer Girl, who works for the other guy, starts a turf war, takes out some people on the subway, which that was cool. She was like fucking them up with her hammer, and she was using like the sharp side. I was like, holy shit. And the dude with the bat, it's like, okay, there is some legit like action in this. So that almost makes up for it. That's why I'm putting it at a 6, even though, if I'm going to be honest, story-wise, it really should only be like a 5. But that action does really help. Like, it's that fucking good. So she takes them out. So does Hammer Boy. Then Rama tries to get out of the job because, you know, after getting hurt. Which I do like. The problem is, with these movies, is I do think the dubbing's a lot better in this one, like, compared to the first one. But Rama, I wanted, like, we only get like a quick mention of his wife and kid. And I'm not saying I want to spend, like, I need a whole 30-minute subplot with them, but there should have been more. You know, we do get, like, a scene where he talks to her for, like, a quick second, and then, you know, puts the baby voice on. So, but then it's like, that's it. So, Rama wants to get out, but he has to stay because he has to try to get corrupt cops. It's just so, I'm going to keep saying this in this review. It's too much going on. I was at this point, I'm checked out, honestly. Story-wise, I'm checked out of this movie by this point. You know, I'm just like, just give me the fight scenes. Because this is just, it's not making sense. And you know why it's so jarring is because how simple that first film was. There wasn't a lot of, like, Yeah, there was a little bit of like they touched a bit on like corrupt cops and stuff, but that wasn't the main point. The main point was the raid and Rama and his team have to survive in this 30-floor building on their own, and that was the main point. In this, I'm also like, why do they call it the raid too? I mean, I get it because continuity's sake, but honestly, it doesn't even feel like a raid movie because there's no real raid. Like, uh, story wise, man, it's disappointing because how great that first one is. And I'm not saying the first one is this like amazing story either, but like I said, it's that simplicity. This is just it's too much fucking going on. Like you got the stuff with Rama, you got this gang turf stuff, you got Mad Dog's little story, even though he dies pretty early. It's like this movie doesn't know where to go. And yeah, even Uko has his own little thing going on. It's like, so after that, it was, we kind of, I'm just going to jump to the final act because I'm dumb. Rama tried to raid Uko's place, but he gets taken out by some assassins, so they demand him to kill him. A fellow officer manages to save I think the guy's name is Edic or something. I could be fucking wrong. I could be fucking wrecking his name. But he ends up saving Rama. And Rama was fighting in the car, which I thought that was cool. Action-wise, this is a great film. Rama manages to get out, but his officer dies, succumbs to injuries. Rama then God, I forgot his name. The main villain. I'm just gonna say the main villain killed his father, which that was kind of cool. And I was like, but he doesn't have like a main villain feel to him. He then arranges a meeting with the other gangster. He realizes the other gangster had him set up because he sees a wire. Then Rama starts raiding. We get a dope fight scene between him and Hammer Boy and Hammer Girl and Bat Boy. Sorry, I confused the two. And yeah, that was a pretty cool fight. And when Rama killed the dude, he kills the girl pretty brutally. Like, he kills her with the sharp end of the hammer, and then beats Bat Boy to death, like literally in the face with the bat, and like stayed there. I'm like, that is like some horror movie shit. And okay, that's fucking cool. Like I'm like, so like the action really does carry this movie, but everything else. So after realizing he'd been set up, main villain kills both gangsters and tries to kill Rama, but Rama evades and manages to slice. He then, he takes out a group of dudes. He slices a dude's face with a knife blade, which I'm like, okay, that was fucking cool. Takes out the guy, and then he's limping injured, and then another guy with a group of men. They have like a silent little dialogue, and then Rama says, no, I'm done, and then the film ends. I don't know if they were planning on doing a Raid 3, because I think they were, because it looks like there was supposed to be more that happened, but it never happened, so. But that was Raid 2. This movie, is kind of a disappointment to me, because how good. Up until John Wick, honestly, The Raid was one of my favorite action movies of like the 2010s until John Wick came out. Like, The Raid was so fucking good, and it was like, I remember hearing about The Raid too, but I just never watched it. It came out like 3 years later. I just never ended up watching it, and I honestly think I did it for a good reason. Yeah, the fight scenes were cool, but I can watch that in a YouTube compilation. I don't need to watch the whole movie. Because I just think there was too much fucking going on. Like, Rama almost, like, we lose focus on him. You got this stuff going on with this dude, and the main villain and his dad, and then you got the rival gang stuff, and then you got Mad Dog. Oh, but the fight in the kitchen, which is the only part I really remember, was amazing. Between Rama and main villain's main assassin. I thought that was a cool fight scene. Like that was like the fights were great, and it's just like I don't know if they were so caught up in the fights that they weren't even paying attention to the story, and maybe that's what it was because I just think the story really suffered. It was going on too much where that first raid was just simple. It was very direct. You knew what was going on, even with the other stuff going on within that movie. With this, it's just too much within. It was almost like a story within a story within a story. It was ridiculous. And this film should not have been 2.5 hours. I don't and I'm not one who complains about length. I don't. You know, I can, if a movie's good, I can watch it for 3 hours. But for me, this one didn't need to be that. You could easily have trimmed 30 minutes. You could have kept it to 2 hours, hour and 50. Like, it should have been there. I think that was also why it suffered. And why it felt like it was meandering, just because that extra 30 minutes just isn't needed. The main villain was weak. No, even though you can barely tell who really the main villain is. I just said, in my head, the main villain is the guy's son. But he doesn't feel like it. The movie just kind of ends too. Like he says, "No, I'm done," and that's it. And it kind of cuts. It's like, oh, okay. And it clearly we're supposed to be doing a 3. I looked on Wikipedia. I guess they got canceled because like the way it ends, it's like yeah, there was supposed to be more. You know, that's probably where the Raid 3 was going to continue from. But I don't know. After watching this one, I'm kind of good with the raid just being a one-off. Honestly, I think the story works as a one-off anyway. You know, they raid the place, they survived, and yeah, I don't really see, you know, if this is what we were going to get, what we got with the second one, I don't need a third one, honestly. You know, and I'm not saying, like, now they could potentially can't make a good third film, but I don't necessarily need it. Like, I'm kind of cool with just one raid movie. You know, I don't. If you want to watch it just to complete the series, I would watch it. But honestly, just watch the fight scenes on YouTube. This movie was just it. The story was just kind of disappointing. They took away what made that first one so good in this one, and it's really disappointing. I didn't think it was going to be this bad story wise. You know, and I'm very, like, lenient on these kind of movies, martial arts movies, action movies, at least these types. Because I know going in, like, the story's not going to be the most amazing thing in the world. You're really watching for the fights. But even in that sense, I can't give it a pass. It's just too much going on for this one. They should have, if they wanted to, honestly, they should have just did the first one again in the sense of just have them raid another building. You know, Rama with a different new team of SWAT. Raid a building. You could still have that one dude's son be the main villain. Have the dude's father and son be the villain, and then you can have the son turn on the father later on. That's what they should have done. It trim it to 2 hours. This one did not need to be 2.5 hours. So disappointing, man. Like the fights were great, and I will say, I keep saying, I think the fights are better in this one than the first. In the sense of like, dude, the fights are like fucking beautiful and smooth in this. Like, and how great the fights were already in the first one. The fact that they could step it up that much is really good. But then it's like the story suffers. I think maybe they put too much focus on the fight scenes to where they didn't care enough for the story. So that's why it's a 6 out of 10, because the fights are so good. But man, story-wise, it's more of a 5 out of 10. But overall, I'm being nice and still giving it a 6, but it definitely is more like a 5.5, if I'm being honest, overall. And I'm going to keep it that, 5.5. It's, the action is dope, but this, ultimately, movie's story is what matters. And the story was all over the place in this one. So, I would, if you want to watch it just to complete the series, because there's only 2 movies so far, then yeah, I would watch it. But honestly, just watch the fight scenes on YouTube. You don't necessarily need to sit down and watch the whole thing. But yeah, that was the Raid 2. Little disappointed. I really wanted to really love this one like the first, but it just wasn't, you know. I was kind of hoping it was gonna be like a John Wick 2, where like it really, even though I watched John Wick 2 technically first, but I wanted it to be like awesome first movie and then even better sequel. This one's kind of a step down. It's a better sequel in the sense of action, but not a movie. But yeah, guys, that was the Raid 2. Tonight, I've decided what I'm gonna talk about. I'm gonna talk about Hollywood's been having this problem, and it's not just with Hollywood. I think it's in general in pop culture. We need to get back to escapism. We need to get back to just being able to like, oh, you be able to watch a movie to escape the bullshits of life. And you get weirdos like, so you not, there are movies that deal with real world issues. No one is saying you can't have those movies, and I'm not even saying escapism to the point you can't have any dark themes or anything like. I'm gonna go more into that tonight, but escapism is what kind of keeps the world going. Because how shit the world is, it's always good to be like, all right, I'm gonna watch this TV show or watch this movie or listen to some music to kind of escape for a bit and keep it, almost in a way, keeps us sane. And that now in Hollywood mainly, but even other stuff has almost lost that because they want to shove real shit and everything. So I want to talk about that more, but that'll be like later tonight. If I'm gonna say specific time, will probably be like maybe eight around eight-ish. So, but yeah, guys. But cheers one more time and peace out. But yeah, the Raid 2 was kind of a disappointment, honestly. But yeah, guys, it's normal. Fuck Warner Brothers. Fuck Disney. Fuck LeBron. Fuck Juicy Smollett. Fuck Seth Rogen. Fuck Colin Kaepernick. Fuck Kevin Smith. And fuck the Biden administration. I'll talk to y'all later tonight. Peace.